Our next question for our Q&A series. I'm always stressing and negative. How do I try to be positive through labour? Well, this is where our practice comes in. This is why we condition ourselves over days, weeks, sometimes months, so that we're training our brain. It's like we're creating the superhighway neural pathways so that rather than going down a negative path, that we're more likely to stay on a positive path. But hey, I am the first one to tell you that sometimes we can get a bit negative and stressed during birth, and I've been there myself. But when you have been conditioning yourself for months, when you know your stuff with this course, you can actually identify that your mind is going down that negative pathway and you can pull yourself out of it. And your birth partner can also help you with the different tools to pull you out of it. So I've been in this situation myself in the middle of a birth where I started going down a negative, downward spiral, and I had to talk my way out of it. I said, Melissa, you don't want to birth like this. You've got to pull yourself out of this nosedive. So the tools that you learn in this course are going to help you if something like that ever happens during birth. You've got the tools. Another question for our Q&A. How do you find an obstetrician that is open to hypnobirthing? Well, you do what I did. You interview them. I seriously interviewed my obstetrician. First of all, I did a little bit of back work. I rang around, I got some recommendations, I phoned their clinics, I found out that, for instance, for my second and third birth, I really wanted to have a water birth. I made sure that I was meeting an obstetrician who was supportive of water birth. And then my husband and I actually went and met the obstetrician. So I hadn't made my decision until that first meeting, and I said to him, basically, we want to pay you to do nothing. And he just laughed. And I said, I'm healthy, there's no special circumstances. If there are, I just want to say we're very grateful to have your expertise, and we're not going to be standing in your way if there's special circumstances. But we're not expecting that. So if everything is just going along normally, what we're really looking for is an obstetrician who's willing to just stand to the side and just let it unfold. And he said, well, that's what a good obstetrician should do. And I said, you're hired. So that's my tip. And also, don't forget, if you've got private health insurance and you're thinking that you need to have an obstetrician in order to utilise your private health insurance, there are also some other options too. And you learn about this in your class. There's independent midwives. Some even have visiting rights to certain hospitals too. So do your research about the models of care as well. And hire your obstetrician. Okay, so I have a really good question, and this one's asked all the time too. It often comes up in my classes. When will I stop having to justify my choice to do hypnobirthing to everyone? I hear you. See, the thing is, when other people, when they don't know what hypnobirthing is about, it's very easy for them to just diss it. People are scared of the unknown. People are naturally adverse to change. And we've got to also remember that other people, they may not have done hypnobirthing themselves, so they have no clue what it means, and they hear the hypno word and they think, oh, that's all weird. And so what they're doing is it's their own biases and their judgments. So I guess, I'm a hypnobirthing mum. I've birthed using hypnobirthing 3 times, and I've taught hypnobirthing for a lot of years. And what we have to do is we have to explain what hypnobirthing is. And basically, the Hypnobirthing Australia and Hypnobubs programs, we are different to other programs. So hypnobirthing is more of a generic term, but our program is a positive birth program. It's all about positive birth. It's using relaxation, self-hypnosis, acupressure, visualization, breathing, upright positioning, and the birth partner knows their role in the birth, and that makes a massive difference. You know, it's using all these different techniques to help us to remain calm through pregnancy and birth. How could that be a bad thing? That's only a good thing, isn't it? So ultimately, we don't have to justify to anyone what we're doing. We already know we're onto a good thing, but I find that it's very common for people to diss what they don't know, and so be part of the change yourself and educate. Let them know what the program's actually about. So I've been asked, where do I find some good hypnobirthing music to play during my birth? Well, you can use any type of music that you really like. I recommend meditation style music because they're longer tracks, whereas if you use the music that you normally chill out to, the tracks only go for like 3 or 4 minutes, and so you're going to have this potentially massive playlist. Also remember, the music that you play at your birth, you are going to associate that music with the birth of your child for the rest of your life too. And the music, another thing about music people don't always realise is it's not just for the birthing mother. If you're playing it out loud, our baby is listening to, and everyone who's in the room is also listening. So a lot of parents like to play the tracks during birth, but there's also times where you don't want voices, in which case choose some meditation style music. There might be some that you're already familiar with that you love. That here's a hot tip. I use Christopher Lloyd Clark's music as background music to our special MP3s, our Hypnobirthing Australian Hypnobubs tracks that we use in our course. So if you downloaded some of Christopher Lloyd Clark's music, you're already conditioned to associate his music with deep relaxation.